Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be doing our typical consumption test with this new Audi A5. As you might be able to tell by this depressing weather, it's kind of winter conditions today, and in German winter conditions are usually like this. So that means we're going to be having winter tires on here, meaning only up to 210 for our top speed kilometers in our test. Our test consists of 4 different tests, 180 to 100 kilometers an hour behind the truck, 88 kilometers on the Autobahn, one at 120, 140 and also top speed. This is going to be the 150 TFSI variant, so 204 horsepower. Would be very interesting to do this with the TDI variant as well to see how far that one would theoretically be able to go. So let's go into the video and hopefully you enjoy. So join me now as we're doing the 80 kilometers up to 100 kilometers an hour behind the truck. As you can see in front of us, we've chosen a little bit of a circular one, and we're driving currently at around 86 kilometers an hour. We've set our tripometer and now we're going to do the journey of 87.2 kilometers back to Kassel. Let's talk about the interior first of all, because quite a lot has changed. It's the combination of the A4 and also the A5. So now it is the A5. You can see, for instance, this display here. If you, for instance, go into YouTube, you can see for me as a driver, it's now blended out. But as a passenger, you're still able to see everything. And you can basically, hopefully you saw that on camera, but it's going to be blended out and you can theoretically now watch some YouTube on there, some non-stop driving if you want. Otherwise, we have these big infotainment and also digital cockpit. Digital cockpit is a little bit blurred. I don't know if that's on every single car, but this one is a little bit blurred. Adaptive cruise control setup and fairly nice information that shows up in here and also on the heads-up display, which is pretty cool. So you can theoretically turn this off and just drive with the heads-up display. That is all the way it works. Otherwise, you have this new steering wheel, which I'm not the biggest fan of, I gotta say, because you can see quality-wise in here it's not the greatest. Let's also press the button. It is not touch sensitive, but it is kind of like these physical in combination with a touch sensitive one, because you can also, for instance, swipe. You also have it on the complete side here, so if you put memory function, it's all going to be through here. And the thing is, it's just not the highest quality. Like, it moves every time you press it, and like you can see here, the whole thing moves. You also have the S logo down here, which is now, because we have the S line, that would be the same as, if, for instance, in the S5. But otherwise, I really like the quality in here, apart from all of the piano black. We have not cleaned it up now, and you can see we've driven around 200 kilometers and, well, quality-wise doesn't look that nice now, so you're going to have to clean that quite often. But that's why we have this cloth in here, so you can do this. Oh, it's still dirty, but yeah. Otherwise, this infotainment display also fairly nice. In general, good quality in here. You got physical vents. Otherwise, you have some buttons in here. You can also quickly press this button for your assistant features and your favorites in here. So you can turn off the EU warning assistance. You have a camera in here, which I don't think works at higher speeds. Yeah, you gotta be slower. But otherwise, we also have the Bang & Olufsen sound system, which comes with the Tech Pro system in here, also very nicely illuminated up there. In general, it just feels very comfortable in here. And the seating position is also comfortable. We have these S-Line sport seats, and they feel comfortable. We have a very premium feeling suspension in here, and especially at 80 kilometers an hour, I can basically whisper and you're not going to hear anything from the outside. Well, you're going to hear something, most road noise and a little bit of every time a car passes by, but still fairly decent isolation and just feels fairly comfortable cruising at these lower speeds. So join me now at 140 here, going back on the Autobahn. I have cruise control set to 140, reset everything on the digital cockpit here. One thing about the digital cockpit is a little bit blurry. You can see like down here, the 140 is a little bit blurry. In general, just a little bit of a blurry one. The infotainment display is completely fine and there's no blurriness on there. Otherwise, great comfort in here even at 140. The road now is a little bit more of a harsher road, so it isn't as comfortable as if you go, for instance, on the left side now. But still, the suspension in here is a very premium one, which does a very good job of smoothing everything out, and you just feel very comfortable. Even at 140 here, isolation is fairly nice. You hear a little bit of like wind turbulence on the left side here by the side mirrors, but that's about it. Otherwise, it is very quiet and just comfortable to sit in here and drive. With a CV value of only 0.27, it is just comfortable and also fairly efficient. The one thing, if you want to be more efficient and drive longer trips, then the TDI is definitely going to be a little bit nicer, and it's also the most powerful one that you can actually get. But still, maybe in the future we will be able to do a test without one. Otherwise, seating comfort in here is also nice. In general, just a very comfortable cruise here with the adaptive cruise controls, while doing a very nice job of keeping the car centered and just enjoying the ride here. What else can I say? Nothing. Let's get back to your top speed. So join me now as we're doing our top speed test. My colleague here is doing the top speed test now. We do have all-season tires on here, as you can see on the left side, so we're not going to be going over the speed of 210. Top speed is theoretically 245. This guy is a 4-cylinder engine, which is going to allow you to get a top speed of 245 with 204 horsepower and 360 Newton meters. 0 to 100 in 7.6 seconds. If you theoretically want the fastest for the normal A5, you'd be looking at the TDI variant, which is going to get a little bit faster, I think 6.9, 6.7, somewhere right around there from 0 to 100. And that's also going to be a little bit more efficient at top speeds. Here at around 200 kilometers an hour now, it is still fairly well isolated. Obviously, it's going to be a lot louder, and then you can definitely hear the wind noise or the wind turbulence on the side mirror there being a little bit louder now. But still, Audis are very known for being very, well, smooth and very safe at higher speeds. And you can definitely tell on this guy, it's planted to the ground very nicely. There's not much steering input that you need to do, and there's also not much of the road that is going to interfere with the safety or the driving experience from the car. And the suspension here also does a nice job of smoothing everything out, and just in general a very nice experience. And it doesn't really feel like you're driving 200 kilometers an hour. A little bit less than that. You can even have the adaptive cruise control. We tested it up to 170. You want to test out if it's working right now? So you can see right there, even at 190, it is still working. You can see by the two arrows on the side of the car, lane assist is still activated at those speeds. Even at 200 now, 210. So you can even have it at top speed. If the road is fairly straight like now, you can even have it activated at those speeds. Otherwise, let's get back to you with all of the numbers. For all the numbers, we have this table just like always. Let's start off with the lowest speed test, so the 100 or 80 kilometers an hour test behind the truck. We had an average consumption of 4.8 liters with an average speed of 81.8 kilometers an hour with a total trip time of 64 minutes. That would mean you would be looking at a total range of 1,042 kilometers if you were to drive the car completely empty with the 56 liter fuel tank, so 56 liters consumption. You'd be able to get 1,042 kilometers. That would cost you €8.50. This, however, is with a price of 177 per E10, so per liter of E10. When we started doing this, we had an average, or we had a price of €1.77. That's why we still have this price, just for the sake of comparison to the other numbers. Right now, I think it's down to around €1.62, something like that. So you'd be looking at, I don't know, was that like seven euros in total? I think somewhere right about there. For the 120 kilometers an hour test, we had an average consumption of 5.8 liters, so only 1 liter more, with an average speed of 116 kilometers an hour in a total time of 45 minutes. That would give you a theoretical range of 862 kilometers. That would also cost you €10.27. For the 140 kilometers an hour test, we had an average consumption of 7.8 liters, with an average speed of 130.8. That's actually the fastest we've been able to get on the 140 kilometers an hour test for any combustion engine car, with a 40-minute time frame of that drive. 641 kilometers of range would be your theoretical total range. €13.81. For the top speed, we had a consumption of 9.7 liters. Just for comparison, a Dacia Duster 8.4 liters, just like the Renault Captur also had 8.4 liters, and a Volkswagen Passat with a B9 TDI engine. That's going to have a consumption of 8.8 liters, so you're looking at around a liter more compared to the TDI variant of the Passat. 141.4 kilometers of average speed and 37 minutes of total time that we've driven there. 515 kilometers would be your theoretical range, with a cost of €17.17. If you guys enjoyed this kind of video, make sure to like, subscribe. What do you think of the consumption numbers of the A5, and what do you also think of the new A5? And if you want a full test review of this car, make sure to check out the previous video on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day and Happy New Year.